Welcome back, Tangerinis. If you're new to our channel, I'm Jordan.
I'm Maddie.
And we are Tangerine Travels. We are currently living in Mexico, specifically Puerto Morelos, and we've been in Mexico for over a year now.
So this all started in January of 2018. We basically decided before that point that we were feeling pretty dissatisfied and unfulfilled with our life in the US, and it was time to make a really bold decision, and that decision happened to be selling everything that we owned except for what would fit in our tangerine-colored Prius C and driving through Mexico. So what was our biggest fear before coming to Mexico? Simple answer, literally everything. Everything that we had been told by the news media, Facebook, friends, family, anywhere you look, is just that basically if you cross over the US-Mexico border, you're going to die. For a totally new culture, new language, new setting, new people. We were literally afraid of everything. Anything that went bump in the night or day, everything.
The next big concern for us was how the heck are we going to make money? Because in order to do this, we had to quit our careers, sell everything we own, and make the decision to leave the country.
And leave our whole life behind.
Yeah, leaving everything behind. What if it didn't work out? What if it was as scary as people say?
What if it was as dangerous as people said?
What if we weren't able to earn a living abroad? The next big hurdle we had to deal with was getting everything we own to fit into a tiny car, which this is no easy task. We had 2 storage units and a 3-bedroom house full of crap that we had to fit in just a few suitcases. I had a business that I had to sell and 40,000 pieces of inventory I had to figure out how to get rid of.
We gave ourselves about 6 months to like lift off date, and
wasn't nearly enough time.
It wasn't enough time. We were working that whole time. Every single day was filled with tasks to get ourselves ready. And by the end, it was just a flurry of stress and emotions and not having enough done in time.
That was a huge task, and it took a long time, super stressful.
Once we started paring our stuff down to what we thought were the essentials, we also had to figure out what suitcases, what size of suitcases we could buy, and how they would fit sitting up, laying down, stacked, seats down, and then where's Laska gonna go? It was a whole ordeal with measuring tapes and boxes in the shape of suitcases.
Never want to do that again.
And besides selling all of our stuff and figuring out how to put our life in a car, then you have the adulting tasks, which was just totally uncharted territory, most of it, like canceling subscriptions, setting up a bank account that we could withdraw pesos from without getting hit with fees, getting Laska vaccinated and getting paperwork for her. What type of paperwork did we need? What type of permits did we need to drive the car in Mexico? And then the more we did, the more we uncovered that we needed to do to be able to go to Mexico legally, like or even just in general, like setting up a will or a power of attorney, making sure our family had what they needed to take care of us should something happen, like everyone said it would.
One great service we use is Traveling Mailbox, which gives us a US address. It allows our mail to be sent there. We can get it forwarded to us if we want, and they'll do things like deposit checks. Some have an extra fee, some don't. I pay 15 bucks a month. If that sounds like something that would interest you, we're going to put our affiliate link down in the description.
And then of course, throughout the entire process, we have the little voice in the back of our mind saying,
"No one you know has ever done this before, certainly not at such a young age. Don't do it, it's a huge mistake. Don't leave your careers that you've built up. Don't leave your friends and family.
This is a huge mistake."
So of course, we did think that it could be a huge mistake. There's a voice again! It's back! And now comes the fun part, where we're crossing the border into Mexico. Or should I say scary part, because at this point, everything scared us, because everything was foreign. The language that we had been attempting to learn, the new food, interactions with people, driving, I mean, let's get into it.
We're still learning the language at this point, even still to this day, but in the beginning, every conversation was super difficult for us, despite having tried to learn some before coming to Mexico. And then I remember going to restaurants and being super concerned that I was going to get sick from the food and water. I remember we ordered nothing but bottled water, only bottled drinks, just thinking that anything else was going to make us sick. Later we learned that restaurants are never going to serve you tap water.
Or rarely, because they don't want to make their customers sick. It makes logical sense.
Any respectable restaurant is not going to serve you tap water if you order a glass of water.
And I, of course, was always concerned about my food allergies. With learning a new language, sometimes I wasn't able to effectively communicate what allergies I had or ask whether certain foods had my allergy ingredients in them. And basically at this point, besides, standard tacos or quesadillas or any of the Americanized Mexican food that we had tried, there were a lot of dishes that we didn't know what they were or what they had in it or how they were prepared or anything like that. On the note of driving, everything felt foreign. People's driving habits, the signs, the different road rules, the fact that everything was in kilometers an hour instead of miles an hour. We were also very concerned about getting stopped at checkpoints, at military checkpoints, and if anything was going to go down there. Most of this was just fear of the unknown. We'd never really dealt with things like this before, so that was pretty terrifying. And anytime we did get stopped or pulled over, it felt like I remember being so nervous and so scared. Not that we had anything to hide, but it was just like, oh my gosh, people with these giant rifles, not machetes, just huge guns. I mean, in the US it's just not like that. They usually have like a pistol or something, but not like freaking machine gun looking things. So that was pretty scary. I think we were constantly thinking, crooked cops are everywhere. Like, that's just the stories you hear. So these are the ideas that we had built up in our head. Also, the conditions of the roads. We were told before coming to Mexico that the roads are so terrible, you must have four-wheel drive or your car is going to get totaled. So we pretty much thought that was going to be the case. The topes, or what we called topes at the time because we didn't know the pronunciation, they're speed bumps, but they can be super hidden, unmarked, and gigantic, like mountainous speed bumps that there's no way you can get around them without bottoming out.
On the freaking highway.
On the highway too, or on off ramps. I mean, and that still scares us to this day, those hidden topes. So at this time, in the very beginning of our travels, we kind of had the guilty until proven innocent mentality about Mexico, just based on all the things that we had read and heard. So it was like we had to keep our guard up about everything, and we always had these concerns. Are we safe? Is our stuff inside the car safe? Is the car itself safe, or is that going to get stolen? Is Laska safe? Are we safe from the food and water? All these different things. And finally, our last biggest concern within the first, crossing the border to about a month in, was getting our temporary vehicle import permit. That's the only way to drive outside of the safe zone in Mexico legally. So you need to have this permit, or you could get pulled over and the cops could legally take your car away from you. So let's fast forward 6 months down the line. Things have changed a lot. Our perceptions have changed. We've seen a lot more of the country. So we finally started to realize that Mexico is not the scary and dangerous place that the media would have you believe. So this half a year later, now we have totally new things to worry about and concern ourselves with. Like our tourist visas are expiring and the vehicle temporary import permit is attached to that. There's a mosquito on you. In fact, I feel like I'm getting eaten by mosquitoes too. I am! New concern, mosquitoes! So then we had to make this huge turnaround trip back to the border to start the process for temporary residency, and that way we could keep our car in the country without having to go back every 6 months, which, depending on where we were, could be a gigantic trip. All over the 6 months, heck, even now where we are over a year later, Spanish interactions were always pretty stressful and scary and intimidating for us, and we had to do them if we wanted to get better. It never got less embarrassing, always an exercise in humility, but thankfully at about the 6-month mark, we felt comfortable with most standard surface level interactions. So that was very nice. Once again, thank you, Rocket Languages. After about 6 months, one thing that started becoming less of a concern was getting scammed, because over time you start to learn the dirty tricks, you learn how things are supposed to be priced, but this is just something not specific to Mexico, but just something you have to learn with travel. Our final concern in the 6-month category was just finding a good rental. It's a huge time and energy suck, and I think this would be the case no matter where you are in the world, so this isn't necessarily specific to Mexico, but we're always trying to find places that have the amenities we need. Like Laska needs to be allowed, we need to have internet for all of our work online, and we are trying to look for a place with free parking on premises, because that is a concern. We are right to be worried about that, leaving our car in the street. Lots of Mexican streets are super narrow, so it's not uncommon to have your mirrors smashed off or your bumpers to get dinged up because huge trucks come through or whatever, and people can't get through on the street. Fast forward to present day. Now we've been living in Mexico for 15 months. We are used to pretty much normal everyday life things that used to freak us out, but there still are some things that concern us, or I don't know, that we're scared of, even to this day. So the first and most important fear and concern we have living in Mexico these days after 15 months, this is pretty serious, and yeah, we don't want you to take this lightly. It's where can I find elote and esquite in the various cities that we're visiting? Because if I can't, I am not happy. Ow! No, but on a serious note, what are we concerned with these days? Driving is still a very big concern because it is not uncommon for kids to run out on the streets. Motorcycles come zooming through the cross streets without slowing down or looking at all.
Bicycles and cars cutting you off. You have to have your eyes, and preferably multiple sets of eyes, on the road at all times.
At all times. Because I'm not a bad driver, never gotten in an accident, but there's just stuff that comes up, like those hidden topes, or you know, these people coming out in the middle of the road, various road conditions like gigantic potholes, things like that, all the time. It's very regular. This is just a fact of driving in Mexico, so that is a very real concern.
Yeah. Do not feed her. Do not touch her.
Feed me! Elote! The next thing is, this isn't really a Mexico thing, it's kind of an anywhere life thing, traveling thing, existing in the world. We do have a little bit of fear or concern that we will become catastrophically ill or hurt in a car accident or something like that. It's just life, but that is a concern that we have, especially since we're in a foreign place and we can't anticipate everything always in the way that we would in our comfortable culture in the US.
Senor.
Oh my gosh, that was a jump. Another thing that's on our mind day to day is getting packages, deliveries, products, things that we need that we can't easily find throughout Mexico in stores or whatever. So an example of this, as I've mentioned in previous videos, are my vitamins and supplements that I need for my detox protocol for mercury poisoning. Another example is usually like electronics, but generally I feel like we just haven't quite figured out how to get everything shipped to us. It's a little bit difficult, and the Mexican Postal Service, in our experience, can be quite unreliable.
Yeah, so every time we have to have something delivered, there's definitely a problem to solve or hurdles to jump through. Over, through, over.
And over. Lencha?
What's the name?
El nombre?
¿Verdad, Lencha?
¿Es tuyo? Hola. ¿Yo?
Lencha, de este lado ya para eso.
¿Come plátano?
Sí. Yeah, you live in. Every
¿Vive
day.
aquí?
Sí, every day come to here.
Oh my gosh. Gracias. And you might remember from our last video, we're heading back to Phoenix soon, so we're doing a little bit of shopping on this one off of the beach road.
For some regalitos, little gifts.
Regalitos, yeah, for family and one of our patrons, Gerardo. This one's coming to you. And what is the next one?
Taxes.
Oh, yes. After we were here for a year, it was like, okay, we have to figure out how to do taxes, how to get all the forms we need. That's still a little bit of a concern, but we sort of have an accountant now, so that's taken care of.
Yeah.
The other thing is vehicle registration. Even though the car is not being driven anymore in the US, we still have to get registration updated every year and figure out how to get that sent, the stickers sent to us. As of right now, they're going to my mom's house and she's sending them to us, or as is the case this year, we're heading back to Phoenix, so that made that a lot easier.
Yeah, I think they make you send it to somewhere in the state.
Yeah.
So you can't do that unless you have one of those mailing services we mentioned earlier, or you have your mom.
Thanks, Mom. And although we're not super afraid anymore of all the checkpoints, the military checkpoints, and getting stopped between state lines kind of deal.
We've just been pulled over so many times and nothing ever happens.
Yeah, well, and people don't even believe us. The amount of times we've gotten pulled over, very likely because we don't have a front license plate, because in Arizona it's not required, but it is required in all of Mexico, so that's often a sign that you have a parking ticket or you've gotten in trouble with the law in some way. But anyway, that's not really a fear for us anymore. Running into these things or getting pulled over like 9 times in one 30-minute drive. But what is a concern are any unknown things that come up, like roadblocks, where they might not be dangerous, but you just don't know what people's intentions are, if people are going to get violent or anything like that. So generally just the unknown on the road, that still scares me.
Yeah, we had some of those experiences in Chiapas on our drive through there, and knowing what happened later, it's not as scary, but just all the unknowns that would go with it.
Yeah.
Should we tell this story or not?
Well,
so these roadblocks we encountered, the short version of the story is on the drive from San Cristobal de las Casas in the state of Chiapas to Villahermosa. There's a more dangerous road you can take where there's
lots of topes.
With lots of topes, and these roadblocks are very common there. And then there's a less dangerous road that you can take, and that's the one we took. We encountered 4 different roadblocks. This was a situation we had never experienced before, so it was all completely foreign to us, completely new.
But the important part of this is we were told that on the unsafe road, it's with lots of topes, it's very common for there to be roadblocks and hijackings, like where they will even come on a bus and like raid everyone of any valuable things that they own. The unknown is the scary part, and it still scares us a little bit because these things do happen in Mexico, not all the time, not often. In fact, this drive was the first time we had ever encountered these intimidating roadblocks in the middle of the jungle where there was no cell reception or no one that could help us for miles.
And to encounter 4 of them in a relatively short drive, that was pretty crazy, and definitely something we would be fearful of making that drive again. To this day, one concern we still have is money and having a consistent income. Like we're making enough to live right now, but will that always be the case? We don't know. YouTube is pretty inconsistent. You don't have a consistent paycheck like you do with a normal job. So that's one reason why Patreon is so important to us. So thank you to everyone who has joined our Patreon. We really, really appreciate you guys.
And that's also another reason why we're so thankful when people purchase Rocket Languages, the software that we use to learn Spanish, because we get a kickback from that, and that helps us continue doing what we're doing and making these videos that we hope we're helping you guys out, or entertaining you or inspiring you, and also why we have sponsorships. Thank you, Audible. Thank you guys for watching. If you like this video, give it the old thumbs up, and if you haven't already, subscribe to our channel to see more videos that we're making about our life in Mexico and travels across the world.
If you think it would be helpful for someone, send it to a friend. We really appreciate you guys. That's what helps our channel grow.
And one last thing. Gong that bell so you get notified when we put out our new videos.
And we will see you soon.